What's up, bros? Me, the professor. I really want you to like and subscribe and comment. Can we do that? Can you subscribe, comment, hit the like button, all that good shit? I don't put a lot of effort into videos about stuff from the past, but you might think otherwise. And what it is that a lot of people get red pill rage after they have a breakup, and then all they talk about is, oh, she did this to me, she did that to me. Those women basically are hurt people, and hurt people hurt people. So on today's episode, I want to talk about alienation, parental alienation. This is part 2, by the way. If you guys don't know what parental alienation is, this is where the mother or the father who has custody of the child makes it impossible or makes it very difficult to see their own kid. Okay? So the two things we're going to talk about today, because I don't want to go crazy on this one, because I have a class in like 17 minutes and I need to jump into uniform. So anyway, we're going to talk about alienation by proxy. Parental alienation in regards to mothers that keep the kids, but while they have the kids in their possession, they work on the mental manipulation of the kids so that they will always do whatever is said. Because think about this. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And if you guys follow any kind of politics, for example, what they do is they pigeonhole the bad person. They make the person to be bad so that everybody will also dive in and hate this person. So that means that like their family members or their work people, they will talk about the father. He ain't shit. He doesn't pay. Because they're under the impression that for whatever reason, you need to pay child support in order to see your kid, as if you need to rent your kid. Because that's the way they look at it, because it benefits them financially. They really have nothing to lose because they win every single time. So let's talk about this. What is alienation by proxy? It is to give the false illusion of the appearance of innocence. The appearance of innocence. Innocence, meaning that son of a bitch, he left me and left me high and dry. Now, you guys have already heard part 1. This is where I told you about my son who is in Germany. And I said I'm not going to talk about Germany anymore. Okay, that's irrelevant to me. In fact, the thing about it is that confusing, because when I did talk to my son, he sounded like I would be mad at his mother. Well, I stopped being mad at her years ago. But the thing that bothers me about it is that he's combative with me. And like I said, she gave him the appearance of innocence, as if she did nothing wrong. Okay? I'm not going to talk about her because I'm past that. Okay? I'm not in a red pill rage or anything. I'm doing this for educational purposes so that you guys that are experiencing parental alienation. So you dogs over here. Look at this dog. I found this dog in Puebla, Mexico, in a bag of dog food than when she was a tiny puppy. She even had her umbilical cord still connected. She's adorable. And her name is Candela. Anyway, it's a service dog and she's wonderful. So anyway, so they give the appearance of innocence while talking about you, the father, in front of the child. So the child instinctually protects his mother and hates you. Okay? This goes into the second principle of an experiment from a Russian experimenter back in the 1860s, I believe. Alexander Pavlov. And he was a scientist that was a fucking asshole. He killed killed hundreds of dogs. But he did experiments with dogs. I am a dog guy. That's why I have my dogs with me all the time. My dogs, for example, I'm going to show you Amigo, okay? Watch this dog. Amigo. Hey. So, this poor puppy here was down in a sewer. And I rescued this dog down in the sewer. He was like this big, covered. He looked like a mud ball, covered in like stickers and thorns and stuff and plants and mud. And I took him. I mean, he smelled like sewage. I carried him home like this. put him in the shower, washed him off, and gave him some food and water because he had been. And this was terrible because I mean, think about it. What would you think, man? You can hear a dog down in the sewer. What are you gonna do? You're gonna call a fire department. You're gonna call the cops. You're gonna call animal control. Well, none of that shit happens down here in Mexico. But that's irrelevant. This dog was innocent. Okay, this dog had no. Didn't do anything as a puppy to be thrown down into a sewer. It's not his fault. But that right there is what I mean by, okay, it's a classic, what Pavlov's law is, every single time that he rang the bell, the dogs would salivate, okay? And this is these are innocent dogs. And what he did with his experiment was every time he rang the bell, the dogs would salivate. There would be food, and then eventually he would take the food away, and they would still salivate. So first of all, kids are not dogs. We know that. However, perception equals reality when we're talking about children, when we're talking about ex-wives and ex-girlfriends, because it's a painful process for all of us to go through, and we suffer as men as a result of parental alienation. But see, with feminism and this, because of the past, because of people abandoning their kids, all men are guilty no matter what. All men are deadbeats, whether or not you pay child support or you don't. Why? We're going back to the perception of innocence, the appearance of innocence, because they might be getting direct deposits. Those kids don't see that. It's like, your father ain't shit. He doesn't pay anything. Therefore, they develop an attitude towards you. In fact, my daughter had this because when I dumped her mother and she went back to the United States and suddenly lost her passport and wouldn't come back to Germany, and I didn't see my daughter until she was 3 years old. That entire 3 years, she was spending all of her time making sure that to paint me off as a monster, because I was a monster. But you see, that is a 20-something-year-old version of me, 50 years old now, so you'd think that things would be different. However, they have the perception of me frozen in their minds as the way I was when I was 20-something years old. So as a 20-something-year-old deadbeat father who doesn't pay child support and alienated my own kid, now let's reverse the roles. What actually happened? My ex-wife annoyed me to the point where I wanted to divorce her. All she did was talk about going to the States because her sister, who was a twin, couldn't live without her. Her sister got big fake jugs, got a sugar daddy, and just started making money and going on dates. This is long before Tinder, by the way. And had 3 babies from 3 different daddies. And then she went back to the United States and observed this behavior, sees her going out to clubs and going out and discoing and stuff. Well, she was young when she married me. She was 19. So she didn't know any better. So for that whole entire time that she was with me, she felt like she was trapped. And again, we're talking about perception versus reality. She was living in a big house with me, stationed in Germany, went skiing every weekend, had food every day, never had a fucking problem. But when housewives don't want to be wives, they make excuses in which not to stick around. So hypergamy became a thing. Hypergamy is when a person monkey branches up to someone with a higher status or a higher financial situation. So her sister was dating guys in Palm Beach, dating guys in Jupiter, Florida, dating guys in Miami that had lots of money. And I was just a slick sleeve with a jitterbug with a sweet tooth back then in Germany. I didn't have the money to, to fly around and give her stuff and all the things that she saw her sister getting. And she's like, well, if my sister's getting all this money and getting fake tits and all this stuff, then I should get it too because I'm an identical twin. So she went back to the U.S. She went to the U.S. and she lost her passport. But she had my kid with her. So now she has 3 years in which, because I'm stationed overseas, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to the States. You kidding me? It's a 14-hour flight. I ain't flying there. So what happened was, again, Pavlovs, when ding, 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 when the dogs heard the bell, they would run for the food. What she was doing, every single time that my name would come out, she would ring that bell, and people's perception of me, which would be untrue or true, wouldn't have mattered, was reality, okay? Now, the third thing I want to talk about is classical conditioning, because just like you'd see in politics or you'd see on some celebrity junk crap that you guys love to watch so much. That is, we're going to paint this guy. Let's take Donovan Sharp. Okay, Donovan Sharp is a red pill content, manosphere guy from Panama that lives in Miami, and he's Americanized, and he's a black guy who's dating a white girl, older white girl. I think he's white. I think he's his wife. I'm not sure, but he did some stupid shit, some fuck shit against Kevin Samuels. Now, I'm a Kevin Samuels fan, but I'm also not a friend of his. When Kevin Samuels was hot and coming up and everything, Donovan Sharp was on his team. Then when they like went their separate ways and Donovan Sharp's like doing his monetizing thing and like threatening with lawsuits for other people's content, from other people sharing his content, the perception is, boom, take Kevin's side, this guy's an asshole. The same thing with Pearl. Pearly Things came out of nowhere, which she came from the Kevin Samuels show. She was on the Kevin Samuels show. She saw the business model. She hired all the people that have had experience in these sectors, especially with parental alienation and with paternity fraud. So every single time that she would come on, people would turn it on because, boom, she had the back of Kevin Samuels. She had the back of MTR. She had the back of, Alpha Male Strategies. She had my back. She had Judge Palmer's back, Judge Joe Brown's back. Then she went all the way up to being on Fox, being on national TV, being on CNN, or being on whatever those shows are. So she got famous and she had a staff. Then some stuff leaked about her talking bad about the African English people that she was working with. And that's all they needed, was the smallest excuse to alienate her. So they rang the bell, the Pavlovs dogs. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, Pearl? She's a bitch. Bing, bing, bing. No good content. Skip past her stuff. Ding, 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 ding. Donovan Sharp, skip past his stuff. See what I'm saying? So the conditioning is to make the person that you want to appear as the enemy is by proxy. By proxy meaning the appearance of innocence. Just like the wars in Ukraine and Israel, we all know the U.S. is behind all this bullshit. That's by proxy. All the wars, all the takeovers, it's the same thing. And what is it called? It's called classical conditioning, where you condition the population to believe a certain thing. And if you can condition a child to believe that his father's a fucking asshole, which I am, I fit the bill perfectly. However, that's a 20-something-year-old version of myself. Now I'm 50 years old. I'd love to have my kid. In fact, the first words out of my mouth when I finally got a hold of him 22 years later, because he finally responded to a message. I sent every single person with the same name in Facebook a message saying, "Are you him? This is me. This is blah, blah, blah." And then finally he responded to me. Then he told me some key things. Then when I talked to him, I was like, he's been completely emasculated, poor kid. He has been brainwashed into believing that I was a bad guy, which I was, but I was a club boy, okay? I was a fuck boy. A fuck boy that basically just a good-looking bodybuilder in Germany. And I think, well, at the time, she was probably 30 and I was like 20-something. So I was with an older single mom because, why? Well, you could figure that out. Pavlov's law, as much as a cruel motherfucker as he was, served a purpose, and that was to show that human beings can be controlled. Human beings can be controlled because every single time you see, like for example, Andrew Tate, and they make a smear piece on him on a video, they want to play like the dark, evil music because they want to give the perception of every single time an enemy comes on, that right there would trigger just like Pavlov's dogs. Okay, so parental alienation, when the father really wants to be with the kid, he'll be with them. If the mother makes it impossible or hard, or they get a new boyfriend that's violent, it's really not much you can do because she has had them programmed by proxy. You have programmed everybody in your sphere of influence, your family, your work co-workers, and so on, to hate the guy that you were once married to that was such another piece of shit, right? That's what we are. We were great while we're together, but when they're gone, we're pieces of shit. So why would you spend all this time with somebody that was a piece of shit? Why? Because it's set up. The whole thing, when that woman is ready to leave, they already have planning with the exit strategy in mind. That means the minute they get child support, boom, you're out. They've already got a guy on the side. Okay, so I don't know anything about that. All I know is that all the sign language was a shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right all the time was with this woman. Because at that point, all she wanted to do was destroy me because A, I cheated on her constantly. It's not a reason. There's no excuse for it. I was a jitterbug with a sweet tooth. What do you expect? You know what I mean? A fuck boy. But now I'm at a different stage in life. You know, here's 20 something years later, and you know what I mean, I spend my time with service dogs every day. So with that in mind, look at this dog. Oh, this is Candela, es hermosa. Okay, I want to show you guys something. Okay, dog that was thrown in the trash. That's what happened here. He was thrown in a bag and thrown into the cornfields. And rescued you out of that. She's starting to be pretty beautiful because she has all these beautiful colors and a smart dog. But it's not a normal dog. It is a wild animal. This is getting off topic here, but you know, the dogs that we rescue eventually find families, and the ones that I want to keep, I typically do, because we have 55 acres. You know what I mean? So it's not like we have limited space as far as having so many dogs that we would rescue and give them away to families and stuff, or train them to give them to veterans who have service-connected problems. So classical conditioning is basically you will repeat, and reinforce to condition the mind of the person to hate the person that you want them to hate. It's pretty smart. So, okay, by the way, parental alienation is child abuse. So what she did to this kid, my son, was for the absolutely last 22 years, she punished him because he probably acted like me. Probably talked like me, or whatever the case may be. I still have no proof of life from this kid because his mother was such a manipulator that when I look at his profile on WhatsApp and he sends me these pictures, it doesn't look anything like me, first of all. This kid's Turkish. And she cheated on the guy that she was with before and had a kid with this another guy, and then had her husband pay 18 years of child support, had his license suspended, got him fired from jobs, and he talked to this daughter of his that wasn't even his all these years. And I talked to him, and he knew he'd been had, and I'm like, look, Merle, there aren't any laws right now that can help somebody who has been fraudulently paying, getting fucked over with child support for 18 years, because that was her plan. It was a setup. The reason why she got me in her life was, one, to restore her status, whatever the fuck that meant. I was a 28-year-old jitterbug with muscles. Because her parents had disowned her because she married a black American guy. Turkish women don't have sex before marriage, so you know, unless they're prostitutes. But in Turkey, the prostitutes aren't even Turkish, they're Polish. So there's that. So you have to be pretty fucked up to be having sex before marriage if you're a Turkish girl. In the event that she was disowned by her father, she really broke her heart because he traumatized the shit out of her. So her first husband, the husband that she married with this guy, she tortured the fuck out of him. She tortured that guy, but he was a drunk. And you guys know that water seeks its own level. So the person that you're in a relationship with is the fucking same as you. So if she's a hoe, then you're a fucking homemaker. Okay? Or a homemaker. The appearance of innocence. Okay, this is where the shit hurts me. This is where it hurt me because my kid is like, he said I had dick worms, which meant an STD. Yeah, I had tons of those, I think. I know I've had to have shots, burning, pissing, and all that stuff. And but I was 20-something years old, and I was running through girls like you wouldn't believe. Okay, I was in Germany, hot guy. This girl over here, she was a run-through single mother who was older than me. And I had a business that made fuck tons of money. You guys didn't know this, but I owned cell phone shops in Germany when I was young, just when cell phones were coming out. And I did pretty good. And when you get in a relationship, a lot of girls want to be involved in the business. Of course you want to be in the business. You saw what kind of money we were making and the volume we were making, and admired me for it. Of course, it's money. It's like when you You admire people for money and status when you're low status. So I went out of my way. I helped this girl, I guess, build a club. We built clubs together. We had businesses and stuff like that. And after it was all said and done, after it was all done, just about the time that she's ready to check out, just like the other one did, is that she would provoke fights with me. Look for any possible thing in order to get rid of my ass, okay? And then she did finally get rid of me, and it was via sending guys to beat the fuck out of me or kill me, one of the two. And I know exactly how much she spent, and she sent 2 Russian guys of all things, 2 young Russian guys. And I was out with my friends that all know how to fight. So this guy's, and we just whipped the dog shit at him because they tried to jump us. And we were with other girls too. So that's neither here nor there. But that was and then she stole my passport, and then she called everybody I knew and threatened them, and all the women I knew, and threatened to chop their tits off. So yeah, I had reason to fucking leave the country for fucking good, because I didn't want some lunatic Turkish woman killing me by proxy and then appearing innocent as a fact. Because when you're an alcoholic and you're running around and you're playing it fast and loose, you're gonna get in trouble. And fortunately for me, I stopped drinking when I was 28 years old, so I was able to clear up my brain a lot. So all these accusations that my son made about me, even though they were true, didn't mean that that's the same person I am today. So I give you guys my hats off, because I know you're listening because you want to understand this. What can you do about it? Well, for one, there is parental alienation and there's paternity fraud. There's 2 different things. They're both very, very serious, because after a divorce, 1 year after a divorce, 40% of children lose touch with their fathers. So you can remember that while you're in Texas, okay? While you're in Texas, running around doing whatever the fuck you're doing, remember that if you have a child, especially a boy, and you are a man, and you do not make constant contact with that kid, what's gonna fucking happen is they're gonna look innocent and you're gonna look like a piece of shit, because you're not doing what I'm telling you. Because the perception of innocence, because they have the kid. Where's the father? Oh, he went to fucking Michigan or whatever. You see what I'm saying? The perception of reality is. Perception is reality. Okay? If you dress like a clown, you're a clown. Well, you could be fooled. There's a lot of people out there with wigs on and face makeup. Pavlovs law basically says that I have the ability now to pull the emotional heartstrings of people that are not directly involved. And then when this person wants to do something, they're canceled. Okay? And that's what all they want to do anyway, because they feel guilty about what they did. Why do you think there's so much parental alienation? The reason why there's so much parental alienation is because 30% of the children born in the U.S. are born in paternity fraud. So do me a favor, like and subscribe. I'm the professor, and I'm out.